Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking the NCERT Plant Kingdom chapter and turning it into your absolute, ultimate, high-speed revision weapon. Okay, let's just jump right in. If you're prepping for NEET, you already know this chapter is totally packed with classifications, weird exceptions, and life cycles that are literally designed to trip you up. But don't worry, by the time we're done today, we're going to visually lock down exactly what you need to know.
But first, let's kick things off by completely shattering an illusion right off the bat. You know, when we think of evolutionary supremacy, we usually picture these massive, complex flowering trees, right? Well, did you know that some ancient ferns can actually tower over modern flowering trees? No way, right? It just goes to show that plant complexity isn't always what it seems, and evolution doesn't always just mean getting bigger. Understanding these evolutionary leaps is absolutely crucial to mastering this topic.
So, here is your evolutionary roadmap for today. We're going sequentially, starting with algae, the aquatic pioneers. Then onto bryophytes, the amphibians of plants. Up next, Pteridophytes, the first vascular plants. Following that, we'll hit Gymnosperms and Angiosperms, and finally, we'll finish off with a rapid NEET recap.
Part 1. Algae, the aquatic pioneers.
So starting in the water, these simple thalloid organisms are literal ecological powerhouses. I mean, they produce at least half of the Earth's carbon dioxide fixation. When it comes to their life cycle, keep in mind they are strictly haplontic. Now, for reproduction, you absolutely cannot afford to mix up these terms. You need the exact NCERT definitions here. Isogamous means the gametes are similar in size. Think of Spirogyra, which has non-motile but similar-sized gametes. Anisotogamous, that means they're dissimilar in size. And oogamous involves one large static female gamete and a much smaller motile male gamete. The difference between Volvox, which is oogamous, and Spirogyra, which is isogamous, is a guaranteed trap question on exam day. Watch out for it.
And just look at how brilliant these structures actually are. Seriously, visually lock these forms into your brain. Notice the green algae, specifically that beautiful spherical parent and daughter colony structure of Volvox. Now compare that to the brown algae like Fucus. Fucus is way more complex. It actually attaches to a surface with a holdfast. It has a stalk called a stipe and this leaf-like photosynthetic organ called a frond. The more you can associate these names with their actual distinct shapes, the faster you're going to recall them under pressure.
Moving on, let's see how this all builds into their chemical makeup. This table? Oh, it's absolute gold for your exams. But don't just blindly memorize it. Look for the patterns here. Focus heavily on the stored food differences. For instance, red algae, Rhodophyceae, store food as Floridian starch, which, fun fact, is structurally super similar to amylopectin and glycogen. Meanwhile, brown algae, Phaeophyceae, store it as complex carbohydrates like mannitol or lemonarin. Knowing exactly which chemical belongs to which color class is a highly recurring question format.
Part 2. Bryophytes, the amphibians of plants.
So now we step onto land. Even though they live in the soil, bryophytes absolutely 100% depend on water for sexual reproduction. Their male gametes literally have to swim over to the female organ. Look closely at this diagram of a liverwort called Marchantia. You really want to burn the shapes of these reproductive structures into your memory for diagram-based questions. Notice how the female Archegoniophore kind of looks like a tiny umbrella with these prominent spokes, and the male Antheridiophore has a flatter, more disc-like top. If they strip the labels off this on a test, that umbrella shape is your instant, foolproof giveaway for the female thallus.
Mentally flag this entire slide as extremely high yield. Bryophytes exhibit a haplodiplontic life cycle, meaning the dominant main plant body phase is the haploid gametophyte. The sporophyte isn't free-living at all. It acts almost like a parasite. It's physically attached to and gets all its nourishment from the gametophyte. Also, if a question ever asks you about fuel or packing material for shipping living plants, sphagnum is your immediate go-to answer for peat. And ecologically speaking, mosses along with lichens are the rock-breaking pioneers that literally make barren land suitable for other plants to grow. Pretty amazing, right?
Part 3. Pteridophytes, the first vascular plants.
Moving up the evolutionary ladder, Pteridophytes are a huge milestone because they're the very first terrestrial plants to pack true vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. But all right, stop. Pay absolute attention here to how their haplodiplontic life cycle shifts. We just said that in bryophytes, the haploid gametophyte is the boss. But in pteridophytes, the dominant phase completely flips. The main plant body is now the diploid sporophyte, which is differentiated into true roots, stem, and leaves. The gametophyte is still there, but it's small, inconspicuous, and mostly independent and free-living.
This flip is a classic trap that you are not going to fall for.
Now let's talk about their spores. While the vast majority of pteridophytes are homosporous, meaning they just make one uniform type of spore, there are some incredibly important exceptions. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia are heterosporous. They produce two distinct kinds of spores, large macrospores and small microspores. Why does this matter so much? Because this retention and development of female gametophytes on the parent plant is a crucial evolutionary step toward the seed habit. It's quite literally the bridge to higher plants, making it a massive favorite for examiners.
Part 4. Gymnosperms and Angiosperms.
Let's tackle Gymnosperms first. Both Gymnosperms and Angiosperms follow a diplontic life cycle, meaning the diploid sporophyte is completely dominant. Note these specific features right now, as they are constantly tested. The defining trait of Gymnosperms is that their ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall. The seeds are naked. But the examiner's absolute favorite questions revolve around their roots and stems. You must know the symbiotic associations. Pinus roots partner up with fungi to form mycorrhiza, while Cycas has these specialized coralloid roots that host nitrogen-fixing cyanobacteria. Also remember their stem architecture. Cycas is unbranched, whereas Pinus is branched.
Quick concept check here to make sure you're tracking the evolutionary trend. In Bryophytes, the gametophyte was dominant. In Pteridophytes, it was small but independent, but in Gymnosperms, the male and female gametophytes do not have an independent, free-living existence at all. None. They are entirely dependent, retained safely within the sporangia right on the sporophyte itself.
And finally, we reach the undisputed rulers of the modern plant world, Angiosperms. They took that seed design and perfected it by enclosing their seeds in fruits, utilizing specialized structures we call flowers. They occupy nearly every single habitat on Earth with size extremes that are just mind-blowing. You have the microscopic tiny wolfia on one end of the spectrum, perfectly contrasted by massive eucalyptus trees that can shoot over 100 meters into the sky.
Part 5. The Rapid NEET Recap.
Okay, take a deep breath. We are going to rapid-fire the most heavily tested concepts from everything we just covered. Seriously, take a mental screenshot of this checklist right now. 1. Know your algae pigments in stored foods inside out. 2 and 3. Never forget the life cycles. Algae are haplontic, while bryophytes and pteridophytes are haplodiplontic, but the dominant phase flips. Gametophyte for bryos, sporophyte for pteridos. Gymnosperms and angiosperms are diplontic. 4. Selaginella and Salvinia are your heterosporous exceptions pointing toward seeds. And 5. Pinus has mycorrhiza. Cycas has coralloid roots. If you just know these 5 bullet points, you're already way ahead of the pack.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to really drive your revision. Think about the epic evolutionary journey we just took. We watched reproductive strategies evolve from the water-dependent, swimming spores of algae to the naked seeds of gymnosperms and finally to the highly protected, fruit-enclosed seeds of flowers. So based on these shifting life cycles, what specific evolutionary advantage allowed angiosperms to ultimately conquer the globe? Let that conceptual understanding sit with you and let it guide you as you review your notes. Thanks so much for joining me and happy study.